Hello, everyone. I'm Anna. First of all, I apologize for my cold. And I'm here to tell you how to pitch. Before I get started with all of my tips, I think it's important to tell you why I'm here, why they decided I'm the right person to do this. So I'm a founder and CEO of Theneo, which is an AI tool that automatically generates API documentation. And I have done a lot of pitches. But to tell you a little bit about me, I'm an introvert, and I hate being in front of people. So this is not my comfort zone whatsoever. But when I was starting my first startup, I realized that it was really, really important to pitch your startup well. When I was talking to investors or customers, they were always telling me that they have met wonderful people, wonderful teams, wonderful product, but if you don't know how to pitch your startup, it's going to be really difficult to have a good start. So right from the beginning, I decided to put a lot of my own resources and research, and I started looking up of great startups doing pitches and attending a lot of different conferences. And what I would do is I would write down what I would find interesting or boring about their pitches. And that helped me a lot. And eventually I did one of my pitches here first in JITA when I won one of the grants. Then I pitched to Y Combinator, then to Startup World Cup, Regional 1 where I won, then TechCrunch, and then lastly Web Summit where I was able to win the pitch competition. And that's why I'm here. So before you get started with your pitch, it's extremely important to understand who your audience is. Are you pitching to customers? Are you pitching to, like a pitch competition? Who are your judges? Are they technical people? Are they non-technical people? For example, if I was to pitch Theneo to non-technical audience, I would need to start with explaining what API is. Why is API documentation important? But if I'm pitching to engineers, they know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'll concentrate mostly on technology, why is it cool, etc. So it's extremely important to know your audience. And what I would recommend doing is to actually create multiple versions of your pitch deck. And that's what I have. I even have different pitch for different kind of investors. So that's what I would start with. And second is tell your story. When I was doing my research, what would annoy me the most is when people had their pitches memorized and it would sound so robotic. No one wants to listen to, here is my problem, here is my solution, this is the traction I have. It's not interesting. And please do not put a lot of text on your slides. Slides should be just kind of like a background, like you have here right now. It should not be the main thing where audience are reading. When you're telling a story, a pitch deck or deck is not the most important thing. And even with investors, I do not use deck at all. So what I do is that I tell a story, and each time I do, my pitch is slightly different because it's not memorized, it comes out of my heart. And I use deck later on when I send them email, like a follow-up, saying, here, by the way, this is the things that we have discussed. So this is kind of like a like a background thing. It's not the main thing. And something to note is that during Web Summit competition, my slides didn't match what I was talking about because, to be honest, I couldn't really see. But that didn't matter because I was telling a story, so the deck was just there. Second is obviously telling what the problem is. But please be concise. Don't use any jargons and don't make it, don't make it too complicated. I remember in the beginning, I was making this mistake of spending a lot of time talking about the problem and then talking a lot of time also about solution. But that should be done in 2 sentences. What is your problem? And then what is your solution very quickly. And talking about your solution also, the same thing. Something that I would concentrate is what makes your solution unique. And that's also when you talk about your competition. Something that I have seen in Georgia, maybe not so much outside of Georgia, is people say they do not have competitors. And that's wrong. Either you haven't done a research and you don't know about your competitors, because you will have indirect competitors at least, or you're working on a product that really has no competitors, and that's actually a really bad thing. Because that means that you're creating a new market, and guess what? Investors hate that. Because that means you're really, really risky investment to make. And especially coming from Georgia, I would never say that you have no competitors. And yeah, so what makes you unique? About Theneo, like for example, what we concentrate on, saying that we have this NLP model that we have built that is in-house. We are not using GPT-3. That our team's unique background, and then I talk about how that differs from our competitors, and that's kind of what creates an edge compared to others. So that's extremely important to mention as well. And why do you care? For me personally, I start off my pitch right away telling the audience that I care about this because I'm the user myself. So if you have seen any of my pitches, I start right away saying that I used to be head of engineering. My background is in engineering. I have worked on hundreds of different APIs, and I couldn't find the solution that worked for me, so I had to create this. It's not because I wanted to create a startup, but it's because I had to create this product for myself and for my team. So I'm showing to the audience that this is something that I'm extremely passionate about. Even though API documentation can seem extremely boring for others, I think from my pitches you can see that I'm extremely passionate about it. And so is for my team. That is why, for example, my team has really unique background as well. And that's why when I started my pitch, I mentioned my team right away as well, because I want to catch the audience attention right away. And that's what it is when I say be engaging. So I start off with my team, how cool we are, and right away I have their attention. I remember one of the investors was telling me that he had met this amazing team that had amazing PhD papers, etc. But he only found that out later, end of the pitch. So he was like, oh shit, I should have listened to them right at the beginning, but it's too late now. So you want to make sure that in the beginning as well, you grab their attention, and then throughout the pitch, you find other elements that you can be engaged with your audience. So for example, I start with my team, then I talk about the solution, how cool it is, but then the coolest aspect is the traction. I say, we were at Y Combinator, we are on TechCrunch, we have more than 3,000 companies, more than 90,000 active users, and that's also when they get excited about. Then, I talk about the market, which is a little bit boring, and I talk about, competitors, etc., the business model, and then I finish off with something that they can remember me by. So I bring up my favorite example of my favorite DevTools company, GitHub, that I say there is no reason why Theneo cannot be on the same scale as GitHub that has 90 million active users and 1 billion ARR. So then, the audience and investors especially can remember that, hey, Theneo can be on the same scale as GitHub, and that's cool. To summarize it, know your audience, tell a story, be clear, say why you're the right team, be engaging, and practice a lot. talking about practicing a lot, something to mention is before Web Summit, I had 2 major failures. Even though I won the regional startup world competition, when it came to the international one, I didn't get to the finals. Same goes with TechCrunch. Even though I was selected and I was we were the only Georgian company to be ever selected for TechCrunch Disrupt, I didn't make it to the finals. But every time I got to the stage, I wrote down things that I didn't like about, what I didn't perform well, what I didn't say right, and what were the moments where I lost the audience or where I didn't have enough energy, or when I didn't answer questions right. So every time I tried my best to be better. So when I got to the Web Summit, to be honest, my goal was not to win. My goal was to do a good job, a job that I would be proud of myself, and I can say that I truly did my best. So I was extremely surprised actually when I got to the finals, and then lastly when I won, because that was not my intention. But when I got to the stage, I just enjoyed the moment, and I enjoyed pitching about Theneo and answering all the questions. And I would like to highlight about questions. Pitching obviously is one aspect, but always after pitching comes questions. You need to be prepared from all the metrics you have, from all the statements, etc. You need to be prepared and answer all the questions. That's something that for example, for Startup World Cup, I didn't do a good job. I did a great job with pitching, but I did horrible job with answering the questions. So next time I was really prepared for questions. And lastly, pitch competitions are great, for getting that 15-minute fame. But you need to remember that none of the top companies won any kind of big pitch competitions. So I would not say to put that as your goal. End of the day, what matters is your metric. If Theneo is ever going to be successful, it's going to be because of our metrics, not because we won Web Summit competition. So hopefully this was helpful for you. And if you have any questions, or if you'd like to get my opinion on your pitch, etc., this is my email here, anna@theneo.io, and I'm happy to coach anyone, especially for other conferences. Thank you.